Today we're bringing you 7 tips on using the ring of steps. Just a heads up, tip number 7 is going to be how to make your steps and set them so they're as solid as possible. So you're definitely going to want to stick around to the end to see that one. One last thing before we get going, I'm going to ask you to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you'll be notified whenever we upload any new videos. We've got tons of information coming. We're going to have videos on hunting, and it doesn't cost you a thing, and you can always unsubscribe. We really appreciate it. Okay, tips 1 through 3 are all going to revolve around safety because ultimately that is the most important thing. Okay, tip number 1 is the most important, and that's have 2 points of contact to the tree before entering your ring of steps or your saddle hunting platform or even a tree stand for that matter. And what I mean by that is I'm at the end of my climb and I've attached my ring of steps, and up to this point I've just been climbing with my lineman's belt. So my lineman's belt's been keeping me to the tree where I have both hands free. Now I've attached my ring of steps or a platform or tree stand, and then now I'm going to attach my tether. So I have my tether and I'm going to take my bridge that I'm hunting with, I'm going to attach it to my tether. Now I'm attached 2 points of contact, my tether and my lineman's belt. And I'm going to step up into my platform with both my lineman's belt and my tether still attached. And I'm going to get here and I can slide my tether up. I still got my lineman's belt on, of course it's going to be on for a while. And I'm going to have that, we're going to step up in here. Now I'm going to go around and set my steps or whatever it is that you need to do in your platform or your tree stand. And I'm going to move my tether. Got some limbs up here I would probably cut, but for the sake of this video, we'll just leave them. So now at this point I'm going to set up how I'm going to hunt. I'm going to pull my bow up, and I'm still going to have my lineman's belt and my tether because this is the most dangerous point when you're moving around and doing stuff up here. So you want both points of contact to be connected while you're setting up your bow. You're taking your backpack off, getting all your stuff ready, situated on the tree. So you get everything ready, situated, you're ready to hunt. Once everything's all done, then you can take your lineman's belt off and ease back into your tether, and now you're ready to hunt. Same thing going down. So the hunt's over, I'm ready to go home. Take my lineman's belt off. I'm going to put it back on and ease back up. Going to leave both my tether and my lineman's belt on. Unpack everything, get everything situated, ready to go. Lower my bow down, and exiting my lineman's belt, exiting my platform. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to have both my tether and my lineman's belt as I'm climbing back out of the tree. Let this come down with me. That's because getting in and out of your platform is the most dangerous time for falls. So now I'm out of here and safely out of my platform. Now I can take off my tether. You could even take your ring of steps off if you'd like with your tether on still. It's up to you, but you have exited your platform and you still had 2 points of contact, and now you're to the tree like your normal climbing position and you're ready to go. Tip number 2 is to keep your last climbing step close to your platform. Okay, what we mean by that is the last step that you're going to use for climbing before you climb up into your ring of steps. Make sure that's close enough that if something were to happen and your ring of steps were, your ratchet was to break, or your platform for some reason something happened and you just no longer had your platform to stand on and you're hanging from your tether, you could just step down on this step and put your lineman's belt on, gather yourself back up, and climb back down the tree or come up with another plan. Tip number 3 is practice. Practice, practice, practice. Practice with your ring of steps, holding your ring of steps, putting them on the tree, taking them off the tree, putting them in the pack, taking them out of the pack, setting them up, how you're going to stand on them, how you're going to move around them. Practice everything that you can, as much as you can, because as they say, practice makes perfect. And that's not just with your ring of steps, it's also your climbing method, maybe even especially your climbing method. A lot of guys, they'll shoot their bows 10,000 times maybe in a season, but they'll only practice their climbing method and setting up just a handful of times. And you need to practice your climbing method a lot more, most likely, than you probably are. Practice your climbing method, setting up your ring of steps, and then setting up how you're actually going to hunt. Where are you going to hang your bow? Where are you going to hang your bag? Everything you're going to do while you're in the tree needs to be practiced. If you're trying to sneak in there close to a bedded buck or close to bedded deer, or maybe even wild deer or nearby, you need to be quiet, and you need to have deliberate movement, and you need to know what you're doing. So therefore, tip number 3 is a good one, and that's just practice. Tip number 4, lube it up. A little bit of gun oil goes a long way. There's a handful of places you're going to want to keep in mind, and you're going to want to make sure that you keep well oiled. And that's the 2 pieces that click when you're going, one goes forward, one goes backwards, and then the wheels that catch those pieces, you want to make sure those are good and lubed. It helps going to cut down on the sound. And then the cylinder that it rotates on itself. You want to make sure you keep all those lubed. That'll help you keep quiet, and that'll extend the life of your ratchet. Tip number 5 is keep your ratchet on your weak side. So your weak side, if you're a right-handed shooter, I'm a right-handed shooter, this is my strong side, so my weak side is going to be over here. So I'm going to keep the ratchet on my right side if I'm a right-handed shooter. If you're a left-handed shooter, this is your strong side. Your weak side is going to be on your left side, so you're going to want your ratchet on your left side. Okay, for me being a right-handed shooter, the ratchet's going on my right side, and that makes my right hand my strong hand, and it's going to give me more strength to get the ratchet as tight as possible. I'm also going to want to keep the ratchet between somewhere around my shoulder level so I can get good leverage. That way I can get it as tight as possible. If I'm left-handed, it's going to be the opposite. The ratchet's going to be on my left side, and it's going to be easier to use with my strong left hand. For the platform steps, if you're right-handed, to have the ratchet on your right side, you're going to have to set the steps up that way so they go on the side that puts it on the right side. If you're left-handed, you'll have to thread them the other way so you have the ratchet on the right side. For the apex steps, these steps are reversible. They go either way, so it doesn't matter how you put the steps on your ratchet with the apex steps to keep your ratchet on the right side if you're right-handed, or the left side if you're left-handed. It's as simple as just turning them around. So you don't have to worry about threading the apex steps on, but for the platform steps you will. Tip number 6 is don't crowd the ratchet with your steps. What can happen when you put your step too close to your ratchet? As you tighten your ratchet, it pulls the step closer to the ratchet, and then when you go to open the ratchet, you can have a hard time because the step is in the way of your ratchet. So you want to make sure you leave room on that side so you can easily open up your ratchet. On the back side, you can put your step closer to your ratchet on the back side because it's not going to pull towards the ratchet and it's not going to be in the way. But on the front side of your ratchet, where your ratchet opens up, you have to keep maybe 2 inches at least distance from the ratchet. That way it doesn't interfere with opening up your ratchet when you're trying to take your ring of steps off. Tip number 7, set your steps correctly. And this is a 2-part process. Part 1 is setting the steps on the tree where the steps actually contact the tree. You want to set the steps so they're not on any depressions or knots or bumps or corners or pieces of bark sticking up. You want to try to have the flattest spot possible for where your steps contact the tree before you actually tighten your ratchet down. Alright, just to show you a couple up close examples, I've positioned these steps so they're specifically on little bumps in the bark. This one you can just slide over just a half an inch or so. You can see the difference you crank that ratchet down, it's still going to be tight, it's still going to work well, but if you want it as solid as possible, you just slide it over and see it's not in that spot. Same thing with this one, same little deal, just a little bit of movement there. You slide it over just a ½ an inch or so, and you're off of that spot. It's not as high as that is there, or you can go that way. That's even better. You know, it's just a little things you can look for to keep them out of those areas like that. Okay, you can see this piece of bark here creates almost like a corner, creates a much bigger area, and you can just go move it over about an inch, and you're right on the edge of that corner, and that's going to be much more solid than if you were to have it in that spot right there. That may get you a little bit of movement. Over here, move it 1.5 inches or so, and you're going to be as solid as can be. So you make those little moves, have your steps in the solid position, solid spots, and then you go ahead and crank your ratchet down all the way. And then part number 2 is once you get them tightened down and you step into your platform, then you're going to step against the back of the steps, up against the tree, and almost in like a little hopping fashion, you're going to push down with straight down pressure against the back of the steps to try to get your steps to slide down just a little bit. And what that's doing, as it's sliding down, you go around with each step and you try to get them to slide down just a little bit, and that's going to stretch your strap out just a little bit as they go down a little further, and it's going to lock them and set them in place even tighter, and they're going to be as tight as possible when you set them that way. That's it. You should have a super solid ring of steps ready to rock. Appreciate you watching. Have a blessed season. Good luck.